You know how it is. I'm a yapper. Nothing will stop me from yapping. I was in the closet for 22 years of my life. I fought really hard. I fought for 6 years to get where I am now. I'm not going to go back in there and stop yapping. But yeah, things are wild right now. It's kind of impressive how quick Elon Musk has, like, made a fool of himself. And it would be funny. It would be funny if it wasn't so sad. But this guy is, like, the most powerful man. And he's so stupid. Like, literally, all he needed to do is just stay in the shadows and control things from behind the scenes. But he wants to be in the spotlight so bad. He wants the recognition so bad. He's like me, begging for praise. That's what he wants. He just wants his daddy to be proud of him. That's just how it is. Who's the bigger bottom between Yara and Elon? Oh, definitely Elon. He would like me to top him. He just wants a trans woman to, like, rail him and put him in his place. That's what all these politicians want, right? And all these, like, big right-wing influencers and, like, tech bros and whatnot. They just want to get railed by a trans woman. But no woman wants them. So they get really mad. But yeah, it's just so sad because a lot of things happen right now. Trump, the first thing he does is, like, taking down a government website for reproductive rights, like reproductive health. J.K. Rowling has no issue with that. All these TERFs who are like, oh, you're trans woman. They have no issue with that. And it's so sad. And I think at some point, if you're, like, stuck in that bubble, if you're stuck in that echo chamber, you're just going to, like, you're just being delusional, going into projection mode, being like, no, it's not actually my fault. No. We're not the bad people. You're the bad people because you didn't tell us in the right way. Yes, you trans people warned us all along. You all said that this is going to happen. You all warned us, but you didn't say it in the right way. You were mean. You hurt our feelings, and that's why we voted the people who were convicted felons and billionaires. And I'm just, like, sitting there and I'm like, you remember when this whole thing started? I remember back then when I found out that I was trans, what being trans was. That was during the time period of, like, Jordan Peterson owns SJW feminist. And you just have, like, Jordan Peterson who's, like, sitting there and he's, like, he's not saying anything. He's just walking in circles and being like, in order to talk about abuse, we need to figure out what exactly abuse is. Is abuse something that is objectively defined? But if it's subjective, then it's your word against mine. And then you have, like, some person, like, freaking out and, you know, with the blue hair and whatnot. And I was, like, sitting there and I was, like, watching that. And I'm like, John Peterson, he seems like he's the good guy because he's calm. The other group is like, they are so offended, they're triggered. They just look ridiculous. I'm going to side with John Peterson on that. The same with, like, people like Milo Yiannopoulos. Same shit. You look at this stuff and you're surrounded with that and you have, like, one group that's, like, portrayed as, like, these triggered people, and the other people are like, well, we just want to have, like, a discussion. We just wanna talk about things. And I was scared of coming out because I thought if I came out to people, my friends and whatnot, they would think that I'm, like, one of them, one of those people who are like pronouns. I was so scared. I kind of hid away. This kind of escalated, and right now we're at a point, like, I'm at a breaking point too. Because, like, I'm talking about, like, hey, kids can be trans. If a cis kid can know that they are cis, then a trans kid can know that they are trans. But, like, you're not going to get like, an 8-year-old on puberty and whatnot, and you're not going to push them into it. You're just working with experts, and, like, gender affirming care is age appropriate, and a lot of the times socially transitioning is enough. Like, I say these things and then people come around and they're, like, faking sympathy. They're like, I don't mind trans people. I don't want children to be pushed into things. If they want to transition, they should wait till they're 18. And I'm, like, sitting there and I'm like, no, fuck you. And that's kind of harsh. But, like, a lot of the times I assume malice over ignorance because right now, like, more people are malicious. Oftentimes things are just, like, disinformation bots. Like, you don't even know if you're talking to a real person anymore. That's, like, the thing. You're sitting there and you're like, well, you know, they worded it nicely, so maybe they're, like, one of the good ones. And then you try to, like, explain to them. You tell them how everything actually works. You tell them what you went through and whatnot. And then they're like, well, you know, let's just agree to disagree. And I'm like, no, you're asshole. And that sounds harsh. And I know that a lot of people who are like, well, you know, like I'm not really informed a lot. I don't actually know what's going on. Hearing you say all these things and whatnot, like it sounds like you don't actually want me to learn. So I'm going to go on the other side and I'm going to fight against you. You know, all these things. Like when I made the video about like how the opinion of cis people shouldn't matter when it comes to like trans healthcare, because like we know who we are. What I meant was in the sense that if I tell you I'm trans, you don't get to disagree with that because that goes against your opinion. Like, that's not how it works. I'm like telling you, well, I had access to gender affirming care and I did all these things and I worked really hard to get there and it was like really exhausting and all these things, and now I'm actually starting to get happier. But I wish it was a little bit easier because I wasted so many years of my life. And you're like, no, I think the fact that you started with 25, that's actually a good thing. And I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Why should trans people force into like the wrong puberty just because it hurts your feelings and you refuse to educate yourself? You don't even need to like fully educate yourself. You don't need to know how anything like specifically works. You don't have to look inside our head and whatnot. The only thing I really want is for you to realize that all these experts like the World Health Organization and whatnot, they're all agreeing that trans healthcare is a good thing. Gender affirming care for trans people is a good thing. It helps with gender dysphoria and all these things. And on the other hand, you have trans kids. Tell them they're happier. They're just worried about their life because of the trend that you're seeing with like transphobia and whatnot. You also have like the parents of trans kids tell you how it actually is. And you have trans adults telling you what they've been through their entire life. I think at some point it should be like, well, you know, I guess you got a point. You know, maybe I'm not educated enough on the topic to actually have my opinion on that. I'm just going to trust you on that. And if you have more questions about it, like I'm always happy to answer and whatnot. But the thing is, like, it's so difficult for me to tell if someone just wants to waste my time. That's just what it is. I'm just sitting there and I'm like, is it better for me to ignore everyone like this? Who is like, well, you know, I don't mind trans people. They should just like wait with transitioning. It's such a life-changing thing. Like, it's better for me to dismiss everyone who's like that than to like try and figure out if someone can be safe. And like, you know, most of the time there are also like so many bots and it's like, I just can't. It's so frustrating because like, you know what you've been through, you know what you're going through, you know how other people feel. You're like part of the community, you know what's going on, you see what is happening, you see your rights being taken away, how your existence is being erased by people in power, the people in charge, they don't want you to exist. And then you like bring that to attention and people are like, well, you know, you're just overreacting. Well, actually, AfD in Germany is not that bad. You know, Republicans, they're not that bad. You leftists, you call everyone a fascist. It just sucks. Because what is happening right now, trans people warned you about it like a really long time ago. And you people are still in denial. But Elon Musk, first day in his speech, throwing around the salute, and people are like, oh, you know, he's just excited, you know, actually, like, he's, you know, Musk is autistic and he's just like really excited and he just wanted to share some love with the crowd, and he doesn't actually know what he's doing. He's not by calling Elon you're invalidating the real traumas that were incited by the actual back in Germany. Just wake up. What do we need to do so you understand what is happening? How can I phrase something that is going to reach you? What am I supposed to say? Except just tell you what it is, what is happening. And you're dismissing that, you're invalidating that, and then you're like, well, it's actually your fault nobody wanted to be on your side. Because of how you treated me, you were rude. And the right-wingers, they were nice to me because they saw that I'm actually on their side with how I phrase things and I'm spreading their misinformation. So, like, I felt welcome in that space. So it's actually your fault because you pushed me away. I was in the middle and you pushed me away. It's the same thing with, like, the Hogwarts Legacy incident where, like, VTubers were being attacked and whatnot for streaming that game. Where you would think that, hey, you know, maybe sending someone death threats and whatnot over playing a game is, like, a little bit ridiculous. If you have a person like J.K. Rowling who's, like, notoriously pushing transphobic rhetoric, denying the Holocaust affected trans people, which is, by the way, illegal in Germany, you would think that maybe they would like consider that. I also know that there are a lot of people in this community who are really stuck in their bubble. I swear it's not that bad as the right wingers, but like it's getting really close there. Like there's some obsessive people on both sides and in like some corners of the world. I also think that there are a lot of people on Twitter who are pretending to be trans or whatnot, like drag down the reputation and make us seem like we're insane and groomers and whatnot by sharing the most ridiculous things and then claiming that they are actually trans and, you know, like, oh, it's the same with like people faking to be like detransitioners and whatnot. But on the other side, they're all bigots and hateful and whatnot, and they're like united with this common enemy. On one hand, on the left, you have like small niche groups who are like, you know, going too far a lot of times. And on the other hand, you have the whole right. There are no good people on the right. There are no good right-wingers. It just doesn't exist. I'm so tired of like pretending that it's like otherwise. And yeah, I can be harsh. You know, sometimes I don't say the right things. Like I overthink a lot. I repeat a lot of conversations and like afterwards I'm like, maybe I went a little bit too far. Maybe I was like a little bit emotional in that moment, a little bit heated. But it's so hard not to be when people take away your rights, try to eradicate your existence and whatnot. And you see your friends being stuck over there. It's so cruel to come to me and be like, well, actually, you know, you're the reason why I became a right winger because like one time I asked you a question and told you my opinion on how children shouldn't transition. And actually, you should wait until you're 55 and made sure that that's actually the right path for you. And you told me to f off, and then I became a right winger. I was sitting there, and I'm like, it's not my fault that you're an asshole. You're just looking for an excuse to blame it on someone else to justify that you're an asshole because you don't want to admit that you're actually a f***ing asshole. I think people are going to get fed up with the right taking away their rights. Their civil rights, because this doesn't affect just trans women. This is not just about like, oh, you know, we just don't want trans women to be in sports and whatnot. Like they're already coming for reproductive health. It affects intersex people. It affects anyone who doesn't fit into their worldview. If you're a man and you have feminine features, they are going to punch you in the face because they think we can always tell because your jawline is actually that of a woman. It's going to get really bad really quickly, and it's scary. It's terrifying. It sucks, but like with society, things have to get really bad until people realize, now I'm actually affected by this too. I didn't mind them taking away gay marriage because it didn't affect me. I didn't mind them taking away trans rights because it didn't affect me. Now I'm being affected. Wait a second, that's not good. And then they're going to like start doing something about it. And it sucks that like trans people are the first. They're already coming after gay rights. They're already coming after like women's health and whatnot. They're not even hiding it anymore. You think this is going to be over in 4 years? It's just exhausting. And it feels like you can't really do anything about it. Going to start attacking people to check in their pants. Didn't Texas like propose a bill that could allow like strange men to just require or like demand from young girls and whatnot to check their genitalia? Like what the fuck? And people are like, oh, leave the kids alone. And then you vote people into the office who are like pro-child marriage, who want to lower the age of consent, and they want to check the genitalia of young girls because they think that maybe that's a boy. And I'm just wondering how bad it has to like get before people like start realizing that maybe trans people were onto something. Maybe trans people were right. We just gotta be there for each other and we gotta support each other. And it sucks to feel like helpless, and it's like so frustrating that like the majority of like the people, they support trans people. It's just that on the left, you have a lot of people trying to be loud, but their voices are being suppressed. And on the right, you have people like controlling all the platforms, all the media outlets and whatnot, and they are like elevating each other. And I'm terrified what is going to happen this election in Germany. We are going to stick together. We're going to get through this. Like, you're valid, you matter, you love, you did nothing wrong. It's just a cruel world. And right now, we are stuck in a time where we are the generation who has to fight. We are the ones who have to endure this, who have to fight really hard. So the next generation is going to have a future. It's okay to feel defeated. It's okay to be sad and worry and, you know, maybe take like a break and like step away from social media and whatnot. Oh, Jesus. Oh my God.
If you wanna have a good time, just give me a call.
I'm crying. Oh my God. Thank you for the raid. We're talking about emotional stuff. I'm so sorry. Things are really bad right now. But the trans community is pretty strong. And we're going to go through this. And if you need to take like a break from social media, if you have to, I don't know, protect yourself and just gather your strength. It sucks that we don't have like a lot of the platforms and whatnot. The opposition is controlling a lot of the media and whatnot, and they're pushing the narrative, and it's a struggle, but just know that the majority of people, they support trans people. And I hope that this is going to be a wake-up call for a lot of people to realize that, hey, maybe we need to show some support. We just gotta be there for each other and show some support. Every couple of decades, every couple of generations, everything is repeating itself, and it's exhausting. And trans people have always existed. Trans people always pushed through. And right now we are at the breaking point, and we have to fight so the next generation has it better. So they don't grow up in a dystopia.